I got this idea. I thought, I'm going to give a Weedy Garden to somebody. I'm going to give a beehive, 100 fruit trees and a compost bay and a worm farm and a polytunnel and blah, blah, blah. All that I've got up here that I've created, I'm going to give that to somebody else.
You're listening to How I Grow This, exploring stories of gardeners from across the globe as we learn from their biggest tips and tricks to some of the things not to do. I'm your host, Luke Hammond. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the How I Grow This podcast. I'm your host, Luke Hammond, and today's guest is I'm super excited about. This is the Weedy Garden on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen his videos, but they are absolutely stunning. We're going to get more into that through this podcast episode, but sit back, pour yourself a glass of tea or coffee or water, whatever your beverage of choice is, because we are going to launch into some great conversations with David from the Weedy Garden in the land down under. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Luke. Nice to be here. You got me early in the morning. We just started daylight savings, so I've lost an hour this morning.
Well, perfect. Here at the How I Grow This podcast, one of the first things we do talking about is context. And so we've got to, in my North American brain, figure out what is going on in the world down under. So if you can walk me through kind of your growing context, are you going into spring right now?
We're in spring. We're in spring. We're right in the middle of spring. And I'm a bit late. I'm a bit behind planting, actually. I do have a bit of a problem. I planted all my seeds about probably a week ago, but the mice come and ate them all. So I've got to figure out another system. As soon as I plant seeds in my little seedling trays, they'll come out the next day and they're all mice that just get into them. So that's a bit of, But I'm lucky here because we've got quite a broad growing season. So if I don't make the first of spring planting, it doesn't really matter. I've still got plenty of time. I can plant corn every 2 weeks for the next 3 or 4 months, actually, and so on. So really lucky. They say that this is one of the 5 spots on the planet where you can grow anything all year round. Doesn't mean to say that your corn's going to do too well in the winter time, but you will get little corn in the winter, big corn in the summer.
So how cold will it get where you're at in the winter?
In the wintertime, it doesn't get frosty here. Might get down to maybe 5 degrees at nighttime, but the days are about 20, 18. The summertime, anything around sort of 25 to 40.
Gotcha.
How hot does it get in Arizona in the summer?
How hot?
Yeah.
Where I'm at, it's a little bit cooler than Phoenix, but we'll be, let's see, this summer we had about 10 weeks in triple digits and, 108 Fahrenheit. So I don't know what that translates. Yeah, you got to translate that to Celsius. Yeah, you probably thought we were boiling or something. Yeah, your blood is boiling. So yeah, it's very hot, very dry where I'm at. What's your humidity like there?
It's really humid.
Okay, so you guys are pretty tropical, it seems. It's not really freezing. And how hot does it get there?
It's a subtropical climate here.
Okay, subtropical.
And it gets very humid. If I turn my compost, I'm totally wet in the summertime from head to toe.
Gotcha.
We're sweat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Even comfortable.
So 100 degrees Fahrenheit is about 37.77 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, right. That's hot. So 100 degrees is hot. And you were saying before?
We had about 10 weeks, in that window where we were crusting into that 100 to 108 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's about what it gets here.
Okay. So real hot, only we don't have the humidity, so it's a dry heat. Our average humidity is going to be in between 10 and 25% humidity. And you're saying that you guys are really humid. So what's your average humidity there?
I don't know, mate. Don't ask me the rainfall numbers, the humidity numbers, typical numbers. That's the thing with me. I don't follow any of that. I'm not guided by any of that. Really.
Gotcha.
So very here and now and spontaneously done.
Gotcha.
I'm not a gardener. I'd like to get that clear. I'm a gardener now because I've been doing it for a couple of years, since lockdown. But I'm a photographer and a filmmaker by profession. And I only got into gardening when COVID hit us.
Gotcha.
I was stuck at home like everybody else, you know, and thought, well, this is a good enough time as any to start my vegetable garden. And so that's where I started learning. That's where I started learning. And that's what my channel is about, really. It's kind of sharing my journey as a normal person that got into gardening, not knowing anything. And I think that's why my channel is it's attractive for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people get put off by just what you're saying. Oh, the humidity, what's the humidity and what zone are you in? It's like, I don't know. Can I still grow food? It's like, of course you can. You chuck it in the ground the first year and you'll learn. You'll find out what goes and what doesn't go. And each year you get more knowledge. And that's the whole beauty of gardening. You know, once you open yourself up to that path, all the info you need will come to you. If it is a matter of survival, it's very important for you to find out. You're going to spend a lot of time turning compost and tending your garden. You want to kind of do it right from the beginning, because it's very frustrating losing all that hard work, you know.
Right.
But I'd say don't start learning first. Start gardening first, and then learn as you go.
Man, I really love that advice. So, talk to me a little bit about this journey. You got in lockdown in Australia, and you were an adventure photographer. Is that correct?
Yeah, sort of adventure, nature. My career has kind of been making images in nature with people.
Okay.
I don't make landscape photos of just the landscapes. If I got a nice landscape, I'll try and find a person to throw in the picture, because I like to get that human kind of interaction with nature. And that, yeah. So I'd say my images have been kind of to inspire people back to nature.
Well, I think you're definitely doing that now with the Weedy Garden. And you're definitely drawing a crowd and kind of inspiring people to jump into creating a garden, and really just kind of showing that freedom of, hey, don't get so locked into your details or your numbers, but get out there and get with it. And that's what's actually going to create the garden, not just the learning.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about how you chose to design your garden from the get-go. Did you pull off of some information that you had in the past, or maybe some influencers from the outside, or maybe some gardeners there? What made you decide to set up your garden the way you did?
There was nothing that prompted me to do it like I did it. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't know anything about it. So I just built 8 garden beds around my polytunnel. And I did it on the top of the hill, because I know plants like sunshine. So on the top of the hill, we're getting full sun all day long. That's the first priority. But I just threw my garden beds in. But it was a few months later that I met the permaculture guru of the planet, Jeff Lawton. And I was actually driving home from one of my friends' place about an hour that way, and I took a wrong turn. And I realized I was going down the wrong road when I then pulled into the side to make a U-turn. And I noticed the sign that said Permaculture Institute of Australia. And I'd just previously seen a YouTube video, because when I put out my first YouTube video, which was about March, April, May, June, July, August, about 5 months after I made my first garden beds, I had my first video on YouTube. And when I put my video up, I was looking at my feed on YouTube, and I didn't watch YouTube before. I'd never watched YouTube before I put on my first video. I might have searched how to fix a window in my car or something like that, like you do.
Right.
But I wasn't a watcher. Put my video up, and then I started getting feed in my feed about permaculture and gardening. And I saw this video about a guy talking about a food forest. And he was really pleasant and really chilled and really informative. And I remember watching that and thinking, I want to be like him when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like everything that embodied this beautiful feeling of gardening, he sort of thought, I want to be like him. So anyway, back to the story. I took a wrong turn on my way back from my friend's place, and I noticed the sign, the Permaculture Institute, and it was a place called Zaytune. I thought, that's the same place as that guy I saw on YouTube. And I looked at my phone, and it was. And like, what a coincidence, or what amazing synchronicity that was. So I walked in looking for a guy called Jeff, to realize that he was a permaculture teacher and he was holding a permaculture course at the time, and met him. And he'd actually seen my first video. All his students, one of his students found my video on YouTube. So they all watched my first video as well, including Jeff Lawton. So when I walked in, he said, "Oh, it's the Weedy Garden guy." So he already knew me from YouTube as well. So we connected on the spot basically. And following that, he came out to my garden and helped me design my food forest. And he put in swales and got it organized like in the permaculture way. Permaculture means you're kind of working with nature. You know, you're using all your resources coming from your property, like your compost, as much as you can. You get from your garden to put back in the garden. The way you're planting trees and what species you plant. My dog's here, and the dog wants a cookie. It's cookie time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hear the end of that.
Well, if you need it, go ahead and go ahead and give the cookie.
It's a beautiful orchestra of birds here every day.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that's how I learned about designing my food forest. That was with the help of Jeff Lawton in permaculture, and I studied the permaculture design certificate. That's when the learning curve went.
Right. Well, I mean, you're learning from masters. I mean, some of the top names in the world you stumbled upon by accident.
Yes.
And they had just seen, what, at that point you had one video or two videos out? Maybe
I think it was
one video.
One intervention.
Wow, that's incredible. And so you have one just work of art pieced together. Because if you haven't seen the Weedy Garden videos, they're incredible. The way that you capture light and imaging, and you really do encompass the chill guy that everyone wants to be like, right? I saw it and I was like, man, I've got to reach out to this guy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's pretty chill being up here. I mean, I live a long way from the town and even further from a city, up on the hill in the Northern Rivers, where you can grow food all year round. Beautiful climate, full of birds and wildlife. Yeah, it is chill life.
That's awesome.
And I'm happy to be here. And I'm thinking that's kind of like, I've got the location, I've got the, there's a lot of things that I've got going for me that make the challenge good. The fact that I don't know anything about gardening doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I do know about gardening, and so, like, if I do a video, I find out about what we're talking about. I do my studies, do my research, I learn, and share it. But I do love the photography. The photography is great. The thing about photography I love is it gives you the opportunity to see the world in a way that the eye never really has that opportunity to see. Not just camera angles and lighting, but time lapse. Time lapse. I was walking around one day thinking, what would it look like when a toad? Because we got a lot of cane toads here. They're kind of they're introduced, and they're dangerous for the wildlife because they've got poison sacs on their back. So the native animals that eat the cane toads, they die. So they're a bit of a pest. So the cane toads, they go in my compost. They become part of my compost. And I was walking around one day wondering, what would it look like as the cane toads decomposing in my compost bowl? I wonder what that looks like. So I actually set up a little studio in a box with a glass front and put the dead cane toad up against the glass and set my camera on it for a month. And we watched it just slowly decompose and turn into a little pile of bones at the bottom of the hole that it once was in. And that's something I love to do with my camera. So, yeah, like I said, I'm a photographer before I'm a gardener, so that's my passion, photography.
Wow. Quite the chorus going on over there.
If I can turn my computer around, you might be able to see it. It's a rainbow arctic. You see it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I can feed him by hand. Sometimes there's one that's a funny foot that I can feed. We'll get back to our interview, hey? Sorry about that. Right in the bush, you get disturbed by all the animals.
Yeah.
There's a goanna in my compost yesterday. A goanna is like a big lizard. You can't see my hands, but
it's similar to like a monitor lizard, isn't it? It's huge.
A little monitor.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk. I want to talk a little bit. I saw some of your videos. I did see that decomposing frog.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it was just incredibly stunning video, and it really just kind of captivates your imagination regarding decomposition and maybe myths that are out there regarding decomposition? Because you just mentioned that there's like this poisonous thing on its neck,
Yeah.
right? And so this is a poisonous frog or
Yeah.
toad, and it kills things. But then, at what point in that decomposition journey do those chemicals break down to become safe again for consumption for your food? Or is there any sort of fear that people have in that area of, hey, this has been decomposed or whatnot?
No, that's the thing with the bacteria and the fungus. They'll break down. So everything that's growing, everything that's alive is composing, and it's collecting. It's collecting atoms, either through its mouth and its stomach or through the soil and its roots. It's collecting atoms to make molecules to build structure. And then when it dies, the second it dies, you got earth, wind, water, fire, and the life element. When the life element is gone, then the bacteria and the fungus, they know that it's dead, and they'll start to pull it apart again. So that poison in the back of the toad, that's a molecule that's just going to be pulled apart again to its original atoms at the end of the day. So it's safe. Everything that goes into that process just gets pulled apart again. So I've got no problem with poison coming on the vegetables. And even so, the compost is in the ground on the roots, and it's not going to come on the leaves or the fruit. So,
right.
The microbes do a fantastic job of breaking down. Even I won't put it out there, but I've heard that there's like things like this, like using bacteria to clean up oil spills and things like that now, is because they can break down molecules and turn things back into atoms.
Yeah, so one of the things that goes on through at least all the education out there regarding compost is things you should compost and things you shouldn't compost. And while people will say, yeah, you can compost everything, but do you want to use that compost in your garden?
Right.
What's kind of your approach and your take to how you grow and deal with that? You've become quite the Go ahead.
I think if you start to look at it like how a forest works, a forest is feeding itself. The birds that die, the eggshells that hatch and fall down, the spiders that die, the leaves, the bark, all that stuff is falling down onto the ground again, getting decomposed and reused again. That cycle, nutrient cycle, is kind of working in a forest. But everything that's, like I said before, everything that's growing, everything that's composing is growing, everything that's dead is decomposing. So I think that I put anything and everything in my compost. As in, okay, if you're living in the city, you might not want to put things like pasta and bread and meat and things like that attract the rodents. But out here where there's like mice and rodents kind of all over the place and goannas, like I found in my compost yesterday, I put rats and cane toads and if I find a dead bird, I'll chuck that in as well, because it's all part of nature. It's like a forest. The bird is in the tree and falls down, it's gonna end up to be forest food again. They say things like, don't put oranges in your compost or onions in your compost, but I think, like everything, what's it called? If I had a big party with 100 people and made orange juice for everybody and had like 5 buckets of orange peels, I wouldn't maybe put all that in my compost. It would get gluggy. I'd have to mix it with a lot of other stuff, But generally speaking, anything that's in my garden that's growing, anything that I don't eat, I put back in. Any animals that I find in the garden, they all can be composted. And all sorts of manure. People have asked me, what about dog poo? Can I put dog poo in my compost? And that's maybe something I wouldn't put in because of the smell. And, when you're turning it, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I answered that very well, Luke, but
I thought it was super eloquent. I think there's some other questions that, we kind of have to use our common sense regarding, but you perfectly talked about the decision-making process of dog poop or dead animals. And, hey, maybe it's because of the other things that might draw in that's going to create more of a problem than it decomposing over time.
Yes. I think generally speaking, if you're if you do it right, you don't need pesticides and herbicides. And if you're growing organic food, you're making your own compost and you're making your own fertilizers. You got your plants positioned in the sunlight. They're getting water. 95% of the plant itself comes out of the air and the water. The sugar molecule is made of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, right? And it gets out of the air and the water. And that makes that's like 99% of the structure of the plant. The rest of it, that little tiny bit of minerals and stuff, is what's coming out of the soil. So if you've got a healthy plant and you're mixing your things up, like you got your cabbage, for example. If you've got rows and rows and rows of cabbage, you think about the cabbage moth. When it was little, the cabbage moth, it was growing on cabbage leaf, and it could remember its childhood, the smell of cabbage and eating cabbage every day as a little grub, and it loved that. Then it grew into a moth, and then it flew around and got eggs in it, and now it wants to lay its eggs. So it's thinking, I want to go back to the cabbage because I love that feeling. And that's kind of its instinct, so it's flying around looking for the smell of cabbage to land on. So if you've got rows and rows and rows of cabbage, all cabbage moths are all around the area, going to smell it from a mile away. But I've got my cabbages, and I've got a bit of garlic, and I've got a bit of thyme, and I've got a bit of spinach, and I've got some flowers. So my vegetable garden is all different plants and different herbs and spices all over like that. So when the moth comes, it's going, oh, I think I smell cabbage. Oh, hang on, that was a bit of thyme. Oh no, that's a garlic, and it's kind of confused and flies somewhere else. So you kind of camouflaging your food in amongst all the other pheromones and smells. Well, you got sunlight and water and good compost soil, and the plant is really healthy, and it's got enough space to fill its space. Then again, they've got plants. Most of the plants have got self-defense mechanisms that keep themselves safe from the bugs. The bugs is like a little bit thing, like if you think of the prairie in Africa, savannah, where you got your lions and zebras. The lions are not going after the strongest zebra. The lions are going to go after the weakest. Right? It's the same with the animals. I see my plants as the zebra and the bugs as the lions. The lions are going to go after the weakest. So the bugs are going after the weakest plants. Or if you get bugs in your garden and they're attacking something, just kind of leave them. Because if you pull it out, then the bugs are going to find the next weakest and go to that instead. That's my philosophy. If I've got things spread all over the place, so I don't have my bed of cabbages. I've got cabbage here, a cabbage there, a cabbage there. I've got a couple of cabbages down in the swales. So if one gets, okay, I'll let them attack that and eat that. They'll keep themselves busy doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the companion planting kind of technique, is a term we use here in the States. Yeah. Was a lot of that information kind of transferred through your permaculture study with that interaction with Jeff?
No, not really. When you start to observe nature, and that's the thing, being a photographer, I've used my whole career observing. I'm observing some guy playing football. But as I'm doing my garden and looking at nature, I mean, I get my information all over the place by reading YouTube videos, people that I meet. But that philosophy of the insects and the way things are is I don't know exactly where I got that from.
Right.
From all over the place, maybe.
Something that we used to have at some point was common sense somehow.
Lost their ability to let their common sense help them because they're looking for answers from the outside. And that's the difference with me. I find out the answers from the inside. And because they're there, they are there. A lot of people don't know that they're there, but that's how it works, I think. Because we are originally, we're connected. We are part of it. We've just lost our ability to understand it and to read it and to feel it. And I think that's why I like living here and sharing my journey, because that's what's important for me, to try and rebuild the connection with what we have and our own intelligence. It comes through observation.
Yeah. I want to zoom in a little bit onto your 8 original raised beds. I saw a video recently where those beds were actively kind of decomposing fairly quick, because you've only been gardening for a short amount of time, 5 years. and then these raised beds that you originally built on a budget and, you know, the selection of wood species, they started decomposing and you started having trouble with them. So walk us through that and maybe some of the solutions for people who haven't seen that video of where you went with that.
Well, at the time, I didn't think too much about it. Well, to be honest, at the time, my garden was not meant to be a permanent situation because, like I said, I'm a photographer and a filmmaker, and here we are in the middle of COVID. So yeah, okay, I'll make some garden beds and we'll make a garden. But I was thinking after COVID's calmed down a bit, I'll get back into my life again. So if I'd have started to do it again, I probably would have done it properly. And that was what that video was about. That was to sort of show people how to do it properly. If you're going to build a garden bed out of hardwood timber, then it's good to do it properly. And by the way, my garden beds are not all rotting. It's just a little corner here and a little section there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, common sense. I mean, I'm thinking, who would put down some wood on the ground and put dirt up against the wood and not realize that that's going to get eaten by...
Not expected. Yeah.
That's what happens in the forest. It all gets eaten by nature, you know? So making a garden bed out of an old pallet, that's a bit of a funny joke. That would be a funny joke to see what happened. It would only take probably 2 years for a wooden pallet to decompose.
Right. You know, one of the interesting things, and I think that people look at, is climate has a lot to do with the speed and rate of decomposition. You know, if you live in a moist environment, it's going to decompose quickly.
It does here. You probably wouldn't have the same problem. You could probably you could probably use softwood raised garden beds and they'd last.
Yeah, it's a totally different challenge set growing in a place like Arizona versus, you know, subtropics or tropics or high humidity.
Where do you get your water from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So where I'm at, I am privileged. We're right on a river. It's one of the, and so our water is irrigation water from the river that's in a series of old ditches that were dug, you know, as much as 100 years ago. And now a lot of parts of the ditches have been moved into pipe, and it's all gravity fed systems. And then now, you know, I tie into those pipes and I pump it through pumps and drip tape and convenience systems for reducing water load. And so that's kind of how we operate here. But if you're not in an irrigated system, it's going to be, you know, a well and drawing water up from deep down. And so that's kind of where our water is from, is river water right here.
Same here.
Yeah. Now that we kind of talked a little bit about decomposition, have you noticed a growth change between you've set up this permaculture food forest and, you know, some swells on your property and your ground, and then you still have like some raised beds that you're growing in. What do you like as a backyard grower? Have you seen any advantages to raised beds as opposed to your food forest and maybe the things that you grow or the types of food that you grow? And what are some of the foods that you grow?
Wow, I've got a long list, man. Actually, it's quite interesting because at the moment, I'm actually living, up until the 11th of September this year, we're renting. Okay. And so we just acquired the land. It was a settlement on the 11th of September. So now we own the land, but we don't own the house. So we're still renting in the house here, but I've borrowed my dad's old camper bus. So I've got an old Toyota Coaster bus that I've moved up to the garden, and I built myself a little kitchen up there in my polytunnel. And I'm doing this little experiment to see how long I can stay in my garden just by eating the food that I've got produced in the garden. And at the same time, I'm turning compost every second day to show people if I was going to put 5 centimeters of compost on my 80 square meters of vegetable garden twice a year, this is what it takes to turn that much compost, everybody. So It's like an 84-day process, 2 days every second day, turning 3 1 cubic meter bays of compost. And it's huge. So when I was to go through what I'm eating at the moment, I got carrots, and oh gosh, this is a huge list though. I mean, vegetables. Got carrots, potatoes, pumpkin, sweet potato, broccoli, cabbage, tomatoes are coming on. Just planted zucchinis, watermelons, rock melons. I've got dragon fruit, mangoes. Got dragon fruit still at the moment, pineapples at the moment, some berries at the moment, mulberries at the moment. Panama berries coming soon. I've got grapes that are just flowered, just starting off. I've got mangoes. I've got bananas, heaps of bananas, pomegranate, custard apple.
So fruits. That's awesome.
Lots of fruits. I don't have too many nuts. I've got a pecan and a macadamia tree, but I don't know about that because one little tree that I'm going to keep pruned is not going to really produce a lot of macadamia nuts. So it's not like I'm going to, it's going to be one of those little treats every year where I harvest macadamia nuts for making macadamia smoothie or something.
Yeah. So but, are you eating solely off the garden? Are you eating vegetarian?
I've got eggs.
Okay.
I got honey. I caught 4 big snails yesterday, so I'm gonna cook them up. But there's a guy coming Saturday. He's a Michelin chef, and he contacted me and said, "Weedy, can I come out and make some food in your garden?" I said, "What a perfect time to do it." So he's going to come out, and we got eels down the creek.
Okay.
I didn't catch a goanna yesterday, but I just Googled if you're allowed to eat goanna, but it's actually not. It's illegal. It's a protected animal, so I can't eat the, unfortunately. But other than my eggs and a couple of snails and maybe an eel or 3 down the creek, that's the only protein I've got really.
Okay. What about cereal grains or bread? Have you tried to dabble in that at all?
I don't really have the room for that.
Right.
Because we've got cattle. We've got cattle on the property.
Okay.
And I will be eating the meat from the cattle because the guy who owns the cattle, instead of paying me monthly to have the cattle on my property, instead I'm getting one of his calves every 18 months. He'll give me one of the calves.
Okay.
One of the steers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, lots of beautiful tropical food. I can't grow anything that needs cold. Like I can't grow Brussels sprouts. I get the Brussels but no sprout. Can't grow peaches or apricots or things like that.
Yeah.
Stone fruits, it's too hot here.
Yep. We are right in the pear and apple season here where we're harvesting massive amounts of pears and apples and apple cider press and
yummy.
And, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yummy.
I think pomegranates.
Yeah, pomegranate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important. When I thought about when I planted my food forests, there's lots of these. There's lots of kind of exotic tropical fruits that I can try and so on. I've got a couple of them, but I think it's best to, if you're going to go to the trouble of making a food first, select the trees that you like to eat, fruit that you like, grow them. That's going to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, select the food that's suitable to your area.
Right.
I think it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. Your viewers might think this is an interesting little angle, but the Earth, you got the planet Earth. Oh, well, some people think it's this, right? But it's this. And its skin is like my skin. If I scratch myself, my skin's going to heal back again, right? And the Earth is like that. Its skin is the greenery, right? If you rip up the ground somewhere, anywhere in the world, it'll grow stuff, right? The weeds will come up because the planet wants to cover itself. And the planet has designed this amazing ability to make skin on itself all over itself. Sometimes it's really cold and sometimes it's really hot. In other places there's no light. In other places it's just rocky. But the planet has designed itself so it can grow vegetation on itself everywhere. And that's the most amazing thing, I reckon. So all you have to do is find out where you living. Where are you living on the planet, and what is the planet designed that grows well where you are? You know? So the most important thing is to find out what you like to eat and find out what grows well in your area. And
and then move to those areas.
And move to the area where you like the food. Yeah. So if you like mangoes, move to the tropics or subtropics.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly the fruit I was thinking of. Hey, if I like mangoes, I'm going to have to move.
Yeah. Beautiful
I
mango.
love it. I love it.
So you got,
So,
do you get frost there?
we do. Yeah, we're about to enter our first frost. Probably, I mean, potentially this week. Maybe it all depends. We're actually in a valley that's surrounded by some really tall mountains. So we're at 3,600 feet, and then right above us is about 7,500 foot tall mountain, and then on the other side of the valley is about 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
And so we kind of form like a cold air sink to where, uh, you know, all that cold air that gets created in the high elevation then drops down in that valley and goes right on the bottom, on the river bottom,
Yeah.
which is
Wow.
right where we're at. And so just a little bit up the hill will be 10 degrees warmer than where we're at in the early morning. So
Yeah. It's a little bit similar to this valley here. Actually, when I see the frost, you can see the frost down on the river flats with my hip, my gut. So never reaches up to me, luckily.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing. How far is that valley? Is that a mile or two? Is that
No, no. I could throw a stone down the hill.
okay.
No,
So within a stone's throw, you can see a frost line.
Yeah.
But you never frost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I walk from the house and I can see, it's a little bit frosty around the house. I walk up to the garden and I can pass the frost line, basically. When I get past the half beaches, it's like, okay, it hasn't reached us. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that just shows kind of that testament of like choosing where on your property to plant that garden and just kind of how intense that microclimate can be and change.
Yeah. There is little microclimates all over the place. It's true.
So do you think you would be able to make a Brussels sprout that would sprout down where you're out? Or
I don't think so. I asked Jeff Gordon, my permaculture teacher, and he said, no, forget about Brussels sprouts in the subtropics.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, where do you think you're going to be headed with the Weedy Garden and the YouTube channel? You've grown in pretty exponential rate with lots of viewers now, and do you have any big goals in the future?
Well, I do. What I'm starting to do now, and we're going international next year, but at the moment it's only in Australia. But I was up in the hill, up there one day, wondering what the future would be for the Weedy Garden. Because if you watch my channel now from the beginning, you'll end up knowing a lot of stuff about how to grow food. And, but I was thinking, what are people watching my channel for? And the answer came to me, it's like, they love your garden. So I thought, well, what can I give? Because doing a YouTube channel, you got to give. If you do it on a YouTube channel when you're asking for stuff, you're not going to get any people following you. So you've got to give inspiration, give a bit of entertainment, give encouragement. And I was doing that, but my channel was not, because I can't make a living from just the ads on the video, right? And I don't want to do sponsored videos. I don't want to do a video where I'm saying, this is a really nice garden implement. You should buy this garden implement because I used it in the Weedy Garden, and you can get the link in the description and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it's just losing its authenticity. So I thought, how can I make a living out of this? And how can I give more? And so I got this idea. I thought, I'm going to give a Weedy Garden to somebody. I'm going to give a beehive, 100 fruit trees, and a compost bay, and a worm farm, and a polytunnel, and blah, blah, blah. All that I've got up here that I've created, I'm going to give that to somebody else. And then the next thing was, well, I can't do that because I can't afford to do that. But then the answer came to me is, there's a lot of people watching the Weedy Garden channel. What about if we say everyone pitch in, and let's call it like a raffle? So you got to buy a raffle ticket, and then at the end of the day, I'll pick out a winner. And so I did that the first time. It was an international, and it was a woman in, where was she? It was an American woman, but she won. She won the first one. And I was kind of a little bit disappointed that it was so far away and I couldn't come and I couldn't do it with her and then install the trees and plant the trees. So the next one I did, so from then on, I've only kept it within Australia. So every time someone wins, I go for a trip to their place. I look around, I do the recon, come back, make a plan, get the design, order the trees, and get all the materials. Call out my volunteers wherever they are in Australia, and then we all meet there at the person's place for a weekend, and we transform their place. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I do one every 6 months in Australia. The next one's Christmas time. And after this, I'm going to do it internationally. So I'm going to open it up to Americans and British and Canadians and people in South Africa and Denmark. So
awesome.
That's the future. I call it changing lives one garden at a time.
I love that. And so are you showing that and you're filming that whole process and the garden installs?
Absolutely.
So
there's some series on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Big makeover series, one from Pam's, that was like a 6-video series, and one from Jill, which was also a 6-video series. And in each video, there's lots of tips as well. Like we'll be showing how to plant a food forest for a cold climate, and showing how to build a compost bay out of bricks, and showing if you're going to make a hardwood raised garden bed, do it properly and do it this way, and how to build a bee circle to create the perfect frequency. So that's that was a series of videos that we made. But I'm thinking that the people that watch my channel are not so interested in the makeovers. So my viewers kind of fell a little bit. So instead of doing a series of each of these makeovers, I'm going to just do one video. So
like a longer form content showing the whole thing?
Well, just one video. It'll be like a half an hour video showing the whole thing, instead of like a
gotcha.
6 video series. People kind of get a little bit tired of watching it, so they kind of tend to move away, and we don't want that. So that's the future of the Weedy Garden, to do these makeovers and go all over the world.
That's totally cool.
Transforming people's gardens.
That's totally cool. Well, David, thank you so much for the time today. This was like an incredible conversation. I want to direct people to your channel. Where do people find you?
The Weedy Garden.
Weedy Garden on YouTube. Are you on any other socials or do any other thing, or is it just strictly YouTube? No,
I've got I do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, but I don't. But it's YouTube. I do my long form videos, and that's where I have my passion. So my YouTube is my passion. The beautiful cinematic videos, good stories. Facebook is really just notifications to tell people that something's happening over on YouTube. And that's where I advertise for my giveaways. I don't advertise very much on my YouTube channel because I don't want my YouTube channel to be buy a ticket, win a Weedy Garden, because it's just going to fill that up. I want the YouTube channel to be nice and clean with inspiring, educational, entertaining, creative videos. The Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, and all that, that's the promotion. That's promoting my business, theweedygarden.com. So I can actually stay up in the garden and make these videos.
Right. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a lot of funds to do all the stuff that you're doing. So, I just want to say thank you for that. And the value you're adding is huge, and the inspiration you're adding is huge. And as you inspire others to jump into the space and maybe try to plant a garden for the first time, this is you're on the must watch list to be inspired.
Oh, right. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah. Hey, if you're ever in Arizona and you're going to capture some photos of Sedona, which is right where I live, or the Grand Canyon, you let me know.
Well, Grand Canyon, I'd like to visit that one day. But let's see. Maybe the next person that wins the Weedy Garden makeover is from Arizona.
Yeah, maybe I should put my name in that hat.
And then you just buy a ticket, mate. And then you can maybe, if you don't win it, then you can come and volunteer and help transform the garden.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Awesome.
Nice
David,
talking to you, mate. What time is it there?
It is 4:00
in the
PM, October 6th.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good
so
timing.
we're a day behind you, or 17 hours or whatever.
Something like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching the How I Grow This podcast. Again, this was David with the Weedy Garden. Make sure you check him out on YouTube, like and subscribe. And for those of you who don't know, the How I Grow This podcast is a podcast from Seed Time, the best digital garden planner. So if you're looking to plan your garden, make sure you check out Seed Time and all that that can do for your garden, staying on task, journaling entry, making sure you log everything that's going on day in and day out. And you can, of course, do all the other features there like journal, task manager, inventory, seeds, layout. Seed Time has you covered. So make sure you check that out as well. And you can start for absolutely free. It's free for everyone, always on the basic level, the free version. Or you can choose to upgrade. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of How I Grow This.